Hi everyone, and welcome to Second Year's Tech Talk Tuesday. We're excited to kick off our first webinar of the series today with our partner Newline Interactive. Ellen Connor, Newline's product training specialist, will be presenting today's lessons from distance learning session. We also have Marcus Wells on here with us, whom is Second Year's Regional Sales Manager for the West. So before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. First, we ask that everyone just stay on mute, please. This will help eliminate any background noises while the presenter is speaking. Second, if you have any questions, please use the chat feature to type in your question along with your name and organization. We'll hold all questions until the end and we'll answer them in the order that they were submitted during our Q&A portion of the webinar. And lastly, if this session is being recorded and it will be available for on-demand viewing. So everyone on the session will be receiving an email with the recording, and we'll also post it to our Tech Talk Tuesday webpage. That's it, and then I'll pass it over to Marcus to start the presentation.
All right, can you hear me okay, Eleanor?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, well, hello everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo. Fell on a fun Tuesday today. I'm Marcus Wells, Regional Manager with Second Year. First, thank you everyone for joining. We'll start this, it's a Tech Talk Tuesdays series hosted by Second Year. With the unfortunate circumstances, we Second Year thought it would be a good idea to share ideas, technology, and what's trending in schools today. This series will continue with the next series focused on Chrome Lifecycle as a Service. So that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned for that. For us, Second Year, for those of you who know, and if you don't, we've proudly served over 2,000 schools and districts across the U.S. for over 20 years. We are part of the Inside Investment family of brands. Our headquarters is in Costa Mesa, with offices located throughout the U.S. Our beautiful tech center is located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we stock thousands of products like Chromebooks, Windows devices, servers, where we perform many technical services on the front end. We're known for our 3-year cross-ship advantage warranty, and then life cycle strategies on products before they come end of life. Today, we have a valued partner, Newline, and we're lucky to have Ellen Connor with us today. She'll be touching base on distance learning, some best practices, and functions and features of the Newline display. As some of you know, they've been providing interactive technology in the classroom for some time, and it's considered best in the business, and we value them as a partner. We have a special offering for those attending, and thank you for joining. Looking forward to building this together with you all. And without further ado, I'll pass it to Ellen with Newline. Thanks.
All right, Ellen, I'll pass you the presentation.
All right, thank you. We'll see if I do this right. All right. Sorry, give me 1 second here. All right, hopefully you can see my panel and hopefully me. Eleanor, can you let me know that I'm doing it right?
We see you. You look good.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Ellen Connor. I am the product training specialist here with Newline Interactive. My background, however, is in education. I have taught for 5 years. I taught in the great city of Detroit, Michigan, before I transitioned to working at Newline. So now I focus on helping teachers as well as adults in general on how to use the interactive flat panels in their environment. So with that, I'm done talking to about myself. Our topic today, as we've said already, is distance learning and some of the topics and lessons that we can learn from it. And I know a lot of you are in the thick of distance learning. It was kind of just thrown at you and you have gone with it. So I'm sure no matter what you're doing a fantastic job. Keep doing it. Kids love seeing you, all those kinds of things. Now, what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to share some different tools that you can use right now as far as distance learning, but then how those can transition into the classroom as well. I feel that it's kind of a disservice as a former teacher for me to not share some tools that can possibly be used right now and again later on as you get back into school year. So those tools that I'm going to share, I'm going to focus on 3 different topics, I should say. The first is going to be digital whiteboarding. I'm also going to discuss video conferencing as well as screen recording. And then towards the end, I'll talk about Newline and some of their features, but let's talk about distance learning first. So as far as digital whiteboarding goes, there's a lot of different options out there. However, I want to talk to you about 2 different ones. The first is going to be in the Google environment, as well as one that's in the Microsoft Office environment, just because in my experience with training, it's one or the other. You're either a Google or an Office environment. So I want to try and reach everybody that way. So everything that I'm going to display as far as digital whiteboarding, I'm going to display it here on my interactive flat panel. This is the RS Plus. However, I'm going to be using it with an onboard computer. It's just a slot PC that runs Windows on it. So you just have to think that I'm running everything on here that I could on Windows, on my laptop, anything like that. So as I go along, just remember what I'm showing you, you can use in the class or as your distance learning tool right now. So with that, digital whiteboarding. The first one within the Google environment is an app called Google Jamboard. Now, it is part of the Google environment. So like all of their tools, it's going to be cloud hosted. So I always like to say that it can travel with you. You know, you don't have to have it fixed on one device. Now, how you access Google Jamboard, because honestly, 5 months ago, I didn't know this existed. But if you open up Chrome, and over on the right side where I've already logged into my account, there's a little waffle. And if you're familiar with the Google environment, you know what's going on there, and you've got Drive and Docs. But if you actually scroll down a little bit, on the 3rd row on the left side, there is the app called Jamboard. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on that. And right now I'm on the home screen of Jamboard. And this is where I can have multiple cloud-hosted whiteboards, digital whiteboards. And all of these whiteboards can be broken down based on your needs. You know, it could be broken down by different subjects, different classes, different lessons, whatever you want there. And again, they're cloud hosted, so you can make things at home and be able to use it wherever you want. I'm just going to walk through some of the basic features of it and how you can create a Jamboard. So on the bottom right, I have the plus sign. If I touch on that guy, there we go. You'll see that it brings up my blank canvas. And I apologize, I know the live view of me gets a little bit washed out, but focus on the left there. And so here I have my blank canvas. You can see at the top left, it says Untitled Jam, but you can relabel that to whatever you need. But on the left side, I have different tools. The very top one is a little pen. And if I touch on that, you can see that I can choose a different tool as well as color, whatever I want there. And then I can use that to write on my whiteboard here. So I taught kindergarten, so we'll go very simple on all of us today. So we'll go 2 plus 3 here. And so you can see I'm able to write freely on this whiteboard. You have other tools in the Google environment like slides and docs. You can't freely write on those like you can with the Jamboard, so that's always a good tool. With the Jamboard, you can also add sticky notes. So on the left side, if I wanted to pick a different color, and perhaps for my math problem, I want to find a couple of potential answers for students, and add those here. And we'll go with one more. There we go. So you can see that I can add those different different sticky notes and rearrange them. I can resize them, whatever it is that I really need to use there. And And lastly, with the Jamboard, you can add images in. So on the left side, the little mountain, if I touch on that, I can upload pictures. So if you have some pictures that are already stored on your computer, you can add those. You can pull them from your Google Drive, or you can do a Google image search. And I'm gonna search a topic that will make all of us happy, I think, instantly. So look at some puppies. We'll go with these guys. They'll fit my math problem. So you can see I can add the images in as well. How cute they are. And you can resize and everything like that. So again, this is the Google Jamboard. Now I'm using this up here on the display. You can use it again on your laptop or whatever devices you have with your computer mouse or if you have a touchpad. Now, one thing to note here, just like all of the other content within the Google environment, you can also share this. You can share this link out to your students right now if you wanted to. Now, as far as taking the Google Jamboard and transitioning into your classroom, whatever that looks like, a great way to start is to open up Google Jamboard on your interactive flat technology. So it could be maybe you have an interactive projector, or maybe just a standard projector, interactive flat panel. Maybe you're lucky and have a Newline one, but you can connect that and be able to use that right from there. So again, a pretty smooth transition because you've already learned how to use the Jamboard possibly in your environment right now. Now, a way that you can enhance your digital whiteboarding experience is if you are fortunate enough to have a touch device. So for instance, if you have a laptop that is has a touch screen, or an iPad, or maybe a Chromebook that's interactive, what you can do is you actually can use that device to make yourself mobile in the classroom. So instead of having to stand always at the front with your panel and your digital whiteboard up here, what I actually have, just to demonstrate, I have a Chromebook that does have a touch interface here. But what I'm going to do from my Chromebook is I'm actually going to connect to the Jamboard here. And all I have to do is log in to my browser just like I would normally on the same account. And from the home screen of the Jamboard, it pops up this digital whiteboard. Again, it's cloud hosted. It goes with me whatever device I'm on. So I'm going to go ahead and open this guy up here. And it has the same tools on my Chromebook as it does on the panel right now. So if I tap on my pen here, and if I'm walking around the classroom, you can see that I can interact and write on this as well. And of course, when I talk to you guys, my internet is going out, so that's always nice. But you can walk around the classroom, interact with it while you're also interacting with, there we go, okay, yay. So again, you can walk around, you don't have to stand right at the front of the panel as well. So again, that is the Google Jamboard, just a tool to try out and see if you might be able to use it right now in your distance learning. And then again, as you transition into the classroom, pretty smooth transition. Now, I told you that I would talk about the people that are in the Microsoft Office environment. Now, you have a tool that's very similar. I personally think it has a couple more enhancements, but the tool is called Microsoft Whiteboard. Very unique name that they came up with. But this is located on all Windows devices. So even if you are a Google environment, you'll see on your Windows device in the bottom right-hand corner, there's the time and a pen. So there's a time, then there's a keyboard, and then a pen. Now, I have this activated on my computer. If you don't, how you activate it is you actually hold down or you right-click on the taskbar. And when you release, you'll get this tall menu that has a button labeled Show Windows Ink Workspace. Just make sure that has a check mark on it, and then you'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on that pen, and you'll see on the left side that it says Whiteboard. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And just like the Google Jamboard, I have all of these cloud-hosted whiteboards. Now this is tied to my Office 365 account rather than my Google account. And these, again, you can break them up however you want. Now to kind of walk through how to use this whiteboard, you can see on the right, it has some pre-made templates. I know that they have a KWL in there. That's the only one I really see as far as being used in the classroom, but it's pre-made for you, so it's always a bonus. Now, this whiteboard, you can see down at the bottom, it also has some writing tools and other objects that you can add. Now, I think from the start, this one is better than the Google Jamboard simply for the fact that it has a glitter pen. So you can see it's got some fun things that you can add in there as far as colors and whatnot. And here you can also add sticky notes. You've got those. You can add your images as well. So again, ones that are on your computer, or if you want to do an image search for them as well. Now, another thing within Microsoft Whiteboard is you have the ability to add content with this plus sign, like PDFs, Word documents, or even PowerPoint. So perhaps you've made a PowerPoint that you have been using for the last, 5 years or so, and you want to make it a little bit more interactive. I can touch on PowerPoint document, and I can bring in some content. And I'm going to be boring and bring in the Newline PowerPoint, but you can insert specific slides. You can add all of them at once if you want to. I'm just going to pick one that uploads first here. So I can insert this here, and I can adjust the size, but you can see that I can write on this as well. So again, it's nice and interactive. I can bring in additional content. Now, just like the Google Jamboard, this can also be shared out to your students. There's a little plus sign here with the character, so you can invite students. They can actually work on this live and collaborate with you. But as you transition back into the classroom and thinking about how you might be able to use the Microsoft Whiteboard, first, like I said with Google Jamboard, just throw it up on whatever you're using as far as display for your students and use it, just like I am here. But a way that you can also use it is Microsoft Whiteboard integrates with Microsoft Teams as well. So if some of you are using Teams with your students, what you can do is actually, with the 3 lines to the right, you can actually post this to Teams. So here I've already made a team for the training department, but if you have different groups of students that you want them to be able to access and look at this content, they can do that from there too. So for example, if you have a group project going on and you want to see what students are working on kind of as they go along, you can create a team for all of those with their whiteboard where you have the ability to monitor it, but then students are able to collaborate on it as well, but not have to be in the same environment as well. So that's a great way to use the Microsoft Whiteboard or a digital whiteboard in general, just being able to have students communicate with each other when they can't necessarily be together because they have all those different after-school sports and whatnot from there. So again, that's the Microsoft Whiteboard. And now, again, those are 2 different whiteboards that you can use. There are lots of other types out there that you can try and integrate. But just remember, you have the ability to use them on your computer, and then you can transition that into the classroom as well. Now, when it comes to showing your students this stuff, you might be asking, like, these are great tools right now, but how am I going to get it for my students to see when you're doing distance learning right now? So 2 different ways you can do that. Obviously, what a lot of you are probably using is video conferencing as well as screen recording. And for teachers that are using video conferencing, there are so many different platforms out there. I'm going to share one just as a Google Meet. However, you can use what you want. I'm sure any of you teachers that are having to do live lessons are really appreciating the mute button. I don't think many people have the ability to mute their entire class with a click of a button, I know I would have appreciated that with all 26 kindergartners. But here I'm just going to share how to access, your cloud storage, sorry, I'm all over the place, access your video conferencing. But I wanted to share a tool within video conferencing because what I have seen just online is teachers, you're getting very creative as far as the teachers have video conference going and they have a piece of paper with a worksheet and they're writing on the worksheet and holding it up for students. That is absolutely wonderful. Go ahead and keep doing that. But you can simplify it because within video conferencing, you have the ability to screen share. So for example, I have my Google Jamboard. Most of my students can't see that. So I'm just going to show how I can add that with my video conferencing. So I gave my friend Lauren, or my colleague Lauren, a warning that I was going to video conference her this morning. So we'll see if she is ready to go. Okay, we'll do a math class here. I do not have a camera right now from my panel. The panel does not have a camera built into it. However, you can add one if you needed to. I'm going to go ahead and join. And I'm just quickly going to add my colleague Lauren in here. Hopefully she's paying attention there. But you can see on the bottom right, it says present now. And this is where I can share my content, whatever it is. Right now, I'm going to share my Google Jamboard, but you can see, you can present your entire screen. You can do a window or even just a Chrome tab. I will share in my experience that I don't necessarily suggest sharing your entire screen because messages pop up, emails, things like that. You might not want others to see. I found out that the hard way. Oh, there she is. Let's see if she waves to us. There you go. All right, so you can see Lauren is able to connect. Okay, I don't think she knows now. But I'm going to go ahead and just use that present now and select my specific Jamboard that I want to share as well. So right now you can see up at the top, we've got the buttons going for screen sharing, but then I also have this tab where I can stop my screen sharing if I want to. So we're going to go ahead and hang up on Lauren there. So again, that's video conferencing and how right now you can share content with students. Now, when it comes to transitioning back into the classroom, you might be thinking, video conferencing, I don't have to use that anymore because my students are all in front of you. Well, for some of you, fall, I've heard, is going to look very different for everyone. I've heard everyone's going to be back. I've heard everyone's going to stay home. I've heard only teachers are going into the classroom, alternating days with students. I mean, it's all over the place. So I think video conferencing will play more of a role than what we initially hope, I think. But video conferencing, some ways you can use it when you move back into the classroom. First of all, not all of your students, even when you get back, not all of your students are going to be able to go into class. Some of them might be homebound. Some of them might be out for 2 weeks as they had a surgery or something like that. And they still want to be able to attend maybe your Friday, morning meetings that you have where everyone gets to share their thoughts and feelings. Well, that's a great way to be able to have your student that's not with you join, so they can still feel part of the community that you have in your classroom. Some other ways you can use it. I know I was listening on a podcast that a teacher, she right now is able to do mini tutoring sessions with her students. They're able to sign up for, with Google, they're able to sign up for a 10, 20-minute meeting or tutoring session with teachers. To me, that doesn't really have to stop when you get back into the classroom. Instead of maybe spending an hour or two after school with students, maybe you can head home and have students sign up for those times. So you really designate just your hour after school that you can help provide support to them, where you don't have to do it the whole day. They've really set up for that time slot. Another suggestion that I know a school in Montana is doing is they're using video conferencing because they have some middle school students that are going to the high school for advanced math classes. Now, it costs money, to bus those kids from the middle school to the high school and back. But it's also requiring that students that are in the middle school leave their other classes early, that interrupts their instructional time. So they're using high school math teachers are having video conferencing software integrated into their classroom, so they're able to teach those middle school students while they're still in the middle school. And then lastly, very simply, as far as video conferencing, you can always use an expert. Students do a lot of research on maybe authors or doctors or scientists, and they want to be able to interview that expert. Doing video conferencing with them is a great way to do that without having to pay for them to fly in to, have your students interview them. So again, video conferencing can really be used in many different ways, even if you're not all doing distance learning from your homes right now. So that brings me to my last topic, which is screen recording. So again, some of you may or may not be using screen recording if you're not doing live lessons. And there's lots of different screen recording tools. Some of the ones that I have used in the past, first I've used Screencastify, that's a free one. Loom, L-O-O-M, is another free tool that you can use. Now the one I am gonna share with you is IdeaMax, and you might be thinking, what is that? That's actually a Newline software. Now, normally I wouldn't share with you, but right now, Newline, we are giving away IdeaMax for free, the license to it. You do not have to have our interactive flat panels to do so. I will share with second year the link for that. So if you want to reach out to your second year rep, they can give that to you. And it's going to be a digital whiteboarding tool, but also a screen recording. So I'll share that with you again here. Now, this just goes on your computer. Again, I'm running my computer here, and I'm going to go ahead and open up IdeaMax. And like I said, it's a digital whiteboarding tool, but what I'm going to focus on is the screen recording. So to start, I'm actually going to do my transparency mode, and we'll bring back up, there we go. We'll bring up my Jamboard again. So here you can see my tool within IdeaMax. And down at the bottom, it's the fourth button over, and it's a toolbox. And if I touch on that, you'll see at the very top, on the far right, is a camcorder. If I touch on that, I'm going to grant it permission. But now you see at the very top, hopefully it's kind of hard to see there is the recording tool. So if I touch on that, from there, I can go on with my lesson how I normally would. So I could use tools within IdeaMax. I could go back to my whiteboard, grab my new pen, interact with it however I want. Now, when I'm done, I can tap on the stop button, and you can see automatically that it pulls up my file explorer. I think that's what they call it. And I can change the title of my file. We'll go with Math Lesson 2. Very good math lesson. But then I can save that onto my computer, and then you can share that out however you want to from there. So whether that's through email or your Google Classroom, whatever you're using. Now, that again is IdeaMax. Reach out to second gear if you want access to it. It's completely free, no strings attached. Just something nice that we are doing for our teachers during this time, and especially during Teacher Appreciation Week. Now, just to point out, Loom and Screencastify, I mentioned those at the beginning. Some things that I like about them, they are extensions that you can add to your Chrome browser. And when you finish your recording, you can post them directly to your Google Classroom, but you also can get a sharing link. So that might be easy for you to quickly be able to share that out with students. Now, when it comes to screen recording, a lot of you are using it right now, but as a topic of our webinar is how is this transitioning back to the classroom? So a couple of different ways that you can think about this. So first of all, for screen recording, this is a great tool for absent students. You know, instead of, again, having to have some tutoring during recess and all that kind of stuff after school, you can record your lessons that you might be having, on your interactive flat panel or your computer, whatever it is, and just send that out to students, when they come back. They don't necessarily have to get notes from students and things like that. It's also a great way to record mini lessons. So if you have students that are struggling with specific topics and need some refreshers and some more content there, a mini lesson would be a great tool that you can use as well. And then lastly, which is an idea I didn't think about until I was talking with one of my teacher friends, is he talked about subplans. He said, when you write a subplan, it's hit or miss whether or not the content you left is actually going to be taught. So what he suggested was he's going to record all of his lessons or do short ones and all the content we want students to do. And from there, he's going to share that out with the software Seesaw or however you share content. And students from their individual devices, they will be able to answer and do all the work there. So with that screen recording, you don't necessarily have to rely on the sub for that content to be shared. So hopefully that kind of rounds out my topic of benefits, of distance learning and how that transitions back into the classroom. Now I want to take just a few minutes, because I have been using this big fancy panel here, I just want to talk about it for a few minutes here. Now, this interactive flat panel that we have, this is the RS Plus. It's our newest panel that we have. And this one is geared towards the education space. So I'd say probably 98% of schools have this panel there as far as what they're using. And some of the great features that are built right into this panel, the first one is our ability for wireless screen sharing. So built into the panel, close my internet, there you go. Built into the panel is the wireless screen sharing. So right now, if you have students, or I should say when you get back into the classroom, students are going to have content that they want to share with everyone in the class. And instead of them emailing you their project or whatever they've been working on, or even walking up and hardwiring their device in, they can cast that right up onto the panel from their own device sitting at their desk. How it works is students, the first step is they would open up the Display Note app, whether that is with the URL or the actual application. From there, they enter this session ID that's listed. And I will tell you that session ID changes each session. So if you have a troublemaker that leaves your class and tries to join your session here, they can't. They need a new code. But from there, once they've entered that code, over on the right side is where their device will list. And a teacher, you have control over who joins your session. So you select on the specific students that you want to share their content up onto the panel. Now, right now, it's one device that casts up onto the panel, but in the very near future, we're going to have a quad view or a grid view. So you have 4 devices that are displayed all at the same time. So you have the ability to share, multiple ways that students might approach problems and content. And lastly, this is a cloud-based solution, so it does not require that students, teachers, and the panel all are on the same network. They don't have to be. So all of you, I'm in Texas right now, wherever you are, if you downloaded that app and entered that session ID, you could cast up onto my panel. So always a good solution as well. And then lastly, just to go along with the wireless screen sharing, we have another tool called Newline Broadcast. And what this does is it works the opposite of screen sharing, where it takes the content from the panel and it pushes it out to individual devices. So for instance, even right now with distance learning, what you can do is students from their individual devices, they can enter in this URL as well as this broadcast ID. Once they've done that, content from the panel gets pushed out to their individual devices. So even if they're sitting at home, they can see everything you have on the display. Now, it doesn't have any audio, or they won't see you, but if you add a camera, possibly to the front of the panel here in one of the public ports, you have the ability to do video conferencing with students while they're still able to see what you're writing and doing on the panel. So that wraps up my portion today. Marcus, I'm going to pass this back to you. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
First of all, thanks, Ellen. Great job. Very informative. I learned something every time we have some form of engagement. Thank you so much. I'll let Brian drive. I think we had a couple questions that came in, correct? Brian, we had a question?
Yeah, I'll take it, Marcus.
Okay.
We did have a question come in from Samantha Reed and Ellen. So she's asking, what pen are you using? She says, Jamboard has been glitchy on laptop devices for me in the past, but I love the idea of it.
So what was I using? Is that what the question was?
Yeah, what pen are you using?
Okay, so I have to be honest, on my panel, I'm using a mechanical pencil. I know that sounds kind of odd, but I'm using a mechanical pencil. I will tell you on things like my iPad, I use a stylus that I got from Logitech. I will say it's easier if you have a touch interactive piece, like a touch screen. Sometimes I myself experience it's hard to write with a mouse. So I'd say if you have access to a stylus, that's the best, or a touch interactive as far as your finger goes, if that helps.
Okay, thanks. And then another question we had was, as far as content resources, what types of content resources out there, and does Newline have a list of some of the available resources?
Yes, so I mean, as far as content goes, it's everywhere. Just a standard Google search, you can find it, obviously there. But at Newline, what we've actually done is we, as trainers, we all travel across the country. We talk to teachers in every, small schools, large schools, and we gather some of the resources that they use. And we actually at Newline have a resource with different websites and things like that that could be used as well. And I, as my homework, I will get that over to second gear. And if you want to reach out, I think to your second gear rep, they can share that with you as well then.
Great. And then last question is, what are some cases for the public USB? So I guess like the webcam and such.
Yeah, so down here at the bottom, like you said, a webcam you can put in there. A document camera is a big piece because a lot of times teachers, I'm one of them, we didn't want to let go of our document camera. That's kind of our lifeline. So you can add things like that to the public port there as well as thumb drives if you needed to.
One last question. What are the benefits of using the OPS versus my personal computer?
Yes, okay, good question. So an OPS, I know I talked about it and I just pointed to the panel. That didn't really help. So an OPS is a little device that looks like this, and it slides into the back of the panel and it just runs Windows. Now, some of the benefits of it, first, it is an additional thing to the panel. What I like about it is I don't have to have my quote unquote personal laptop plugged into the panel. So from that laptop that you're given, a lot of times teachers, you're doing grades, writing emails, things that you don't want shared with your students. And you want kind of a clear line between, instructional content. That's where you can use that onboard computer, and then your more personal things on your laptop. Another thing with that onboard computer, it makes it an all-in-one solution. So when it comes time to installation, you just take that out of the box and you slide it in and you can start interacting with it right away. Now, what you might have right now is you may have, a desktop in the back of your classroom and you would have to maybe get in the wall and rewire things, some Cat5 extenders, things like that to be able to use it with the panel. So this just makes it an all-in-one solution. It makes it easier for installation and, makes things a lot easier for everyone.
Perfect. I think we want to open it up for any other questions before we finish up here.
I think we're good. Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you, everyone. So there's an offer that Newline has in conjunction with Second Gear. So the standard warranty is typically 5 years on the assets, and we're extending that to 7 years for those that attended this webinar. So we're adding a free 2-year warranty extension to any acquisitions that may take place in regards to the Newline product with Second Gear. For those that are on the call that have your recognized account executive, you can reach out to he or she. If there's any follow-up that's needed, you can use our email at info@secondgear.com. That's info@secondgear.com, and then we can kind of redirect you if you just have any questions. If you would like another demo like this for your staff or faculty, or if you're just looking for any information, or if there's something that you want to send us that you feel would be something that you have interest in seeing that we can bring forth to you in these webinar series. And then our next one I talked about is Chromebook Lifecycle as a Service, and that will be on the Tuesday. And we'll just keep this going. So we're trying to build something here that kind of gives good information, best practices, and be as informative as possible. And we're trying to build something special here. So with that said, we'll close this out, let you continue your day. It's Cinco de Mayo, and thanks for joining.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Ellen, today for the presentation and the whole Newline team. So have a great day, everyone.
Okay, thank you.